So once you get going these days, the marathon has become, for us, it's become a long sprint. And you better be ready to be able to sprint for 26 miles.
How long do you train, looking at a marathon, how long will you, how far back will you start preparing for that, and how long after it does the recovery take?
Well, the preparation is, for me, is all year, because, we can race basically at the stage from January till December. We have some local marathons in South Africa in February, and the last race could be Hawaii. So you can race the whole year if you want to. But specifically, I start preparing about 3 months before Boston, for the type of course that it is, and work towards it. I will, do some sports science testing. I will see where I am. I work in sports science, sports science industry, so I'll look where I am and I'll evaluate myself and then make the necessary adjustments. Recovery is not much of an issue because I'll be doing London in 6 days' time after Boston, and then a week after that I'll be doing a race in Korea, marathon. When I was younger, I tried to do 4 in 4 weeks, so I did Paris, Boston, London, and Korea. So the recovery is not that big of a deal because we're on wheels. There's no impact to the joints. So if you're fit, it's like a cyclist. A cyclist can do the Tour de France and do so much distance every day because there's no real impact to the joints. And the same principle accounts for us. So basically, I can do, if I'm fit enough and I take care of myself, I can do a lot of marathons.
Do you kind of thrive on being the guy to beat?
Well, it's what is this? I'm going for number 8 now, so it's not always fun having the big target on your back and having to come up with all these things to do to break away from the pack. But I like this course. I think this course plays into my hand. And when I'm fit and ready, there's not a lot of guys in the world that could really, take me on in this course. I think the guys who can are here this year. Some of them are in really good form. So it's always a challenge.
You got the medal you wanted last September in Beijing.
Yeah.
May have been a different discipline, but talk about your Paralympic career and the opportunities it's presented you since Barcelona.
Yeah. Well, as I said, Beijing was my 5th and it was my 3rd sport because I started out as a swimmer and then I moved over to track and then afterwards, I've moved over to cycling, and it's just helped me to develop as an athlete. I think I understand what it takes to train to be able to be ready for any event from 15 seconds, which I've done before. In Barcelona, I did the 100 meters on the track, up to a cycling road race, which can be an event of up to 2 hours. So I've gone through them all, and I've learned how to prepare myself. The whole Paralympic experience itself has been really, really incredible. But it's also, I was up to about 2002. I was really struggling because to be a high-performance athlete these days, it's financially very, very difficult, and you need to have a full-time financial sponsor to back you. And I'm one of the few athletes in the world that actually, wheelchair athletes, who has a financial partner, being Spalding Rehab, that enables me to be able to train, as much as I need to, and travel and race as much. Because the thing is not just about training; it's about racing often and seeing what your competitors are doing and competing against them and getting used to. Because a lot of the guys, they'll do 1 or 2 races a year, and they get bummed out so much with the whole aspect of being in a competitive event that they just, lock out. So I think you need to be able to travel the world and get used to it and race a lot to be able to do well in the sport.
Are there technological advances you have to keep up with too, as far as?
Well, the IAAF and the IPC make sure that they limit the rules of the chairs quite significantly. So there's not a lot we can do. I don't think my chair has changed visibly in any way since I won my first one in 2001.
Okay.
It's pretty much been standardized, and so the athletes just got better, and they're just training more scientifically, and the competition is more professional.
How are they training more scientifically, especially for this race?
Well, people have started to use sports science as a tool. They do regular VO2 max testing, power output testing. They measure immune response, they measure blood, they measure recovery through blood these days. So there's a lot of aspects that people never, because we're almost like a bit of a Cinderella sport. Nobody really worried about it, but suddenly it's a high-profile event. Beijing Paralympics went out to so many countries live on TV, and suddenly people are investing money in it and then seeing it as a spectator sport, and people have interest in it. In South Africa, for instance, because our Olympic team only won 1 medal, and the Paralympic team finished sixth overall out of all the countries in the world, it drew a lot more media attention, and people followed the Paralympics a lot more religiously than they did the Olympics. And suddenly you're in a situation where our Paralympic team have more sponsors than our Olympic team because of media exposure and because of the level of the competition.
Do you feel like that more of the Paralympic athletes are stepping up in terms of weight training and what they're doing because of what
Yeah.
you've done in your own development?
I think raising the standard in any sport, people will realize that if they want to get close to the times and what you're doing, that they need to step up the game. They need to engage in weight training and psychology and more periodized training and stuff like that. So it just raises the standard of the sport generally if one or two people are starting to do it the right way.
Is that like the Van Dyk model, and are people kind of following?
Well,
how you've
yeah,
done it?
yeah. I get a lot of people finding out how am I training. What am I doing? Looking at what am I? Even the way I designed my chair and the way we've developed it. A lot of people will send an order form to Invoke their top end, and they will ask they want a chair like mine. That's all they ask. So it's just the way it's developed.
But I mean, are people using your training techniques and
Well, a lot of it you keep to yourself, but like the fact that I use hand cycling as a very strong component in my training is cross training, because you can go so much further and so much longer without hurting yourself too much. And a lot of people have started doing that, and they've been buying hand cycles and cross training and getting fitter, because I found with a hand cycle I can go a lot harder for a lot longer, so I keep my heart rate higher, so I can influence my lactic tolerance. And that was one of my weaknesses, and I was able to improve that. And I made no secret of it that the way I overcome it was by using the hand bike. And so a lot of people have followed suit.